Lone Star Slate podcast. I'm Mac.
Rob.
Gardo. Nick Sage.
And our guest here is...
I'm Jeni.
Welcome, welcome.
Thank you.
So today we're going to kind of talk a little bit about what you have going on. We actually got to see your play firsthand, and we are going to be discussing a little bit about that. But something that I kind of want to bring up a little bit before the questions is I just really want to commend you on this play. It was something a lot of us were not expecting at all. It was a breath of fresh air, as well as felt like it really connected with any and everyone out there. I felt really, really great about that play because it felt like it kind of spoke to me in certain situations that I had been in, as well as painted that picture of there are some gray areas and there are sometimes where you are stuck on the fence of what to think, what your values are pushed onto somebody else and or onto a situation. So again, kudos to you. Amazing job.
Thank you.
Great play.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'm so glad you guys got to see it. And now we get to talk about it.
Exactly.
It's already,
There we go.
yeah.
So do you want to go ahead and just give a little bit of introduction about your what it is and what you're doing?
Sure,
actually?
I'm prepared to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the play that has been in development over the past almost a year now is called The Blind. It's a metadrama that centers on, I'd like to say that references the story of Brian Deneke, who was a kid here in Amarillo. He was a punk musician and artist, and he was involved in an incident, a fight between two groups of kids here in Amarillo in 1997, and was murdered in a hit and run murder. It caused his death. That car was driven by another teenager here in town. Everybody in Amarillo knows this story. And many people around the world actually know this story because it resonated so much with the punk community internationally, with anyone who has ever experienced being an outsider of any kind. It made national and international headlines, and so did the trial that followed a few years later. That was very controversial. This play actually doesn't tell Brian's story, though. It does cover Brian's story, but it's not about Brian's story so much as it is about everyone else.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And it's not about Brian as much as the rest of us, is what I like to say. And I grew up here in Amarillo with Brian's older brother, Jason. So this is a two-hander. It's a play with only two characters at this point in time. One character based on me, and one character based on Brian's older brother, Jason, whom I went to school with growing up, like in elementary school and middle school. So it's set in modern day times. It's literally a play about the development of the play. Mm-hmm. It's about a hypothetical, not quite hypothetical, but a dramatized version of Jason and I getting back together after all of these years and talking about this incident. Jeni in the play is approaching him to ask his permission to write the play.
Yes.
And then their whole conversation. Oh, that's right, because you haven't seen it.
No,
Is this even new to you? Okay.
This is well. As soon as he explained it, because I mean the same thing. I had an idea of what the play was, and then he went and saw it with you guys, and he was like, "Dude, that was totally
amazing.
Different than what I thought." It was because in my mind I was like, "Okay, the story, I got it in my head," and then he explained what the whole play was about, and he was like, "It was for everybody. It wasn't just like it wasn't one story. It was kind of a message for everybody."
Exactly.
And I was like, "That's awesome." And so.
Yeah.
Whenever we brought it up and he kept talking about it, I was like, "Dude, this is a lot different than what I expected." And so I think the message you kind of try to get out there, it got to him. So I mean, he was even able to tell it to me. So which is
I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it takes being. I'm not from Amarillo. I'm from Houston, but I've been here 15 years, and it takes real courage to be vulnerable. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And to accept the change that needs to happen, or be open to the change that needs to happen in your community. You know what I'm saying? And being just rooted in your ways, and to be able to tell it in such a way that everyone knows. The story is so important. So important.
Yeah,
I was truly touched when I saw this play.
Thank you. So to finish catching you up, and I guess everyone else,
Yes.
so not just us. It's, okay.
I'm gonna keep raving about you all.
Oh. Well, the two characters are in this conversation, having not had any interaction since they were in middle school together.
Okay.
And they are from very different socioeconomic backgrounds, different aspects of relative privilege, but very much a different background in terms of Jason having really embraced the punk community from a young age, Jeni knowing nothing about the punk community and having been raised in a very high faith setting, church background, and relative privilege for the most part. And they are exchange all these. She comes in really thinking she's on his side, and she knows a lot more about what happened and wants to see something else said about it.
I got you.
And thinks maybe she knows more than she does. And so, but the exchange of like songs and memories of growing up here and different perspectives and some challenging ones at times means that it puts her in a great position as a representative of the wider community to bring that responsibility to the forefront, the responsibility of the wider community, the culture that contributes to these things being able to take place, these tragedies happening. So,
No, that's awesome. And I mean, like you were explaining, I think having those two different, I guess, views, different aspects of like from one person to being from the Rock area, and I mean, from us all being from Amarillo, I mean, there's a lot of I think there's a lot of faith pushed in a lot of people around here, and so whenever you do stray a little bit further from the path, it's like you're the outsider.
Yes.
And I think like plays like this is where like they show people like, yo, just because you're a little different doesn't mean anything like that. And I think that's a big thing, like he was talking about yesterday. It wasn't just like one group of people, it was everybody. And so once I heard about it, I was like, yo, this might have to be something like that's going to blow up, especially for us. And the thing is, I think for us, seeing something like this here in Amarillo is a big thing.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's like there's plays, and we're going to give a shout out. So I was saying, the Amarillo Little Theater, stuff like that, and it's just like having plays like this to where it's reaching a bigger audience is where I think Amarillo needs to get the exposure and the spotlight put on it, and that's where people like you come in to freaking shine that light.
Well, and then just in this community, like he was saying as well, asking those hard questions, asking those really personal, deep, rooted questions of how do you actually feel about something like this, or how are you going to react when the tables are turned and maybe this is in your court now. So again, props. We can't say that enough.
I love it. That's so exciting. Okay, cool. Well, let's talk about it.
All right. Well, you want to start off the first question?
Yeah, I'll start with the first question. So, can you tell us a little about your background and how you first got into playwriting? When did this start? So this has been introduction for about a year.
Yeah.
But you've
almost
written
a
things
year.
before this, right?
Not really.
No.
Really?
You're just jumping in.
What?
Tell us about it. How did you jump into this?
Well, this, I don't know. I've grown up. I grew up in theater.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some shows as an adult, and at Amarillo Little Theater here, and then I lived in Dallas-Fort Worth area for about 12 years, and did some professional work there. So I've always, I've been on the theater side of things, but there's a lot of storytelling in my background and my history, and I've always been a good writer and a good communicator, and that's kind of the through line. I think with all my background is communication strategy, helping people. My early adult life was in ministry and in like mentoring, and so for me, and that's transitioned over time into coaching. For me, there's a lot of storytelling involved in that. It's like taking things people are saying and their words and the concepts and the things that are happening in their life and building this pathway for them and this story around, so that they can see these concepts and these influences and these opportunities that aren't as clear when you're in the thick of it. So there's like a lot of storytelling there. I'm a mom. I have 5 kids, and like reading and telling stories, reading aloud together was always a huge thing with us. And so in ministry, I studied things like evangelism and apologetics and anthropology and missiology, which is all about like understanding at a deep level of empathy in many ways, where people are really coming from, and then how to then move them, emotionally or in their philosophy and their outlook. How to shape that with communication, with storytelling, with, to move them at an emotional level. And so these are all the things that I've learned how to do and that I've ended up studying. And then also, I think we talked about this the other day, like the principles of nonviolent communication, yes, which are so powerful. And so I've, because I'm busy, and I just, as a mom and even as an actor, like, I would occasionally act here and there, but I never had the opportunity to do that, like, full-time. As I've gotten older, I've had all these stories and all these plays that I've wanted to write, but have not really happened outside of my head. And, I've always kind of put that on the back burner. And I had a producer friend a little over a year ago say, hey, I have this story I really want you to write. I want you to write a play about this, which is funny because I've never written a play, and she knows that. But that's kind of the little invitations that I've learned to follow through my life, is like when people approach me, there's no way they could know that I could do this, but I'm like, oh yeah, I can do that, and you see that, and so now I have this, avenue towards that.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
But for me as a mom, as a single mom, as, someone who did not complete like a formal education, I haven't had those opportunities to she actually over the years would say, hey, there's this playwriting residence, or there's this contest, or there's this and that. And you have to, actually do the work first.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the way they're all set up, which is, that's great. But a lot of people in non-traditional positions or marginalized communities, don't have the luxury of building up all of this repertoire or convincing you because of they need the opportunity first. And that's really the position I found myself in a lot. Y'all are not in your head because you're in independent film.
Yes. Yes.
Right, and it's similar. It's like
Very similar.
you've gotta show what you can do to get the money, but you've gotta have the money to show it to do anything.
Yeah, exactly,
And that's always the position I found myself in. So y'all, last year, again, it was World Fringe Day just a week ago, and this is my first year to be a part of Fringe, but that was really what happened. Was my friend Sarah was like, I want you to do this. I'm like, I can't do this and not get paid for it. And then I thought, but if I was gonna do something and not, without any money, without any backing, to take such an investment of time and energy away from my family and all the other things I have to do and invest in it, I want it to be one of my stories, one of the things I want to invest in.
Yes.
And she was like, that's great. Yeah, you should do that. And then I'm still like, okay, thanks for the commissioning, but show me the money. And that never really materialized. But what did happen was, I don't remember if she put this forth or if I came across it, but, there was the call out for Fringe in Fort Worth last year. And I read through in detail all of the criteria for applying, and pages was not one of the things you had to turn in, or video.
Okay.
So I literally was like, I'm just going to pour my heart out and say, this is the play, this is the show I'm submitting, and not say that it doesn't exist yet, and that I don't have permission to write it yet, and all the things that would need to come together for it. But I'm like, if they let me in, then I will have, a deadline. I will have a sense of, I'm using that word again, commissioning, of things will come around you to support you if you do this. It won't
Yes.
just be like something that sits on my computer and wasted my time.
Right.
You know, there's a pathway for it. And I'm so thankful for that opportunity, because I just wouldn't have done it without knowing that it could have gone somewhere, and knowing that I wasn't just going to do it all for nothing. So that's how that started.
We gotta shout out Sarah. We all need friends like Sarah.
Sarah,
Yes.
Sarah Powell, you know, I'm so proud to be a part of your producer era.
Well, yeah, if you want to move to the next one.
Yeah, I think we covered number 2, so we'll go on with this one. All right, and so who are some of your biggest creative influences, playwrights, authors, or artists?
Okay, you know, this is an odd question for me, because, you know, I'm not good at this question, but I'm just going to answer it in case there are people who can relate to it, because I think maybe there are some creatives who are like this as well. But I have a really fixed way of looking at things, and a fixed perspective, fixed way of thinking, you know, and I'm not good at holding celebrity names in my head. I just I can't. Yeah, I'm always like, oh my gosh, yeah, that actor who's in.
I literally just did
Who's
it
in
for
that
you.
movie?
I literally just did
Yes,
that
with
before you
that
walked in.
with that actress
Yep.
who does. Oh God, and then I'm like going around and we can't get anywhere.
Yep.
Yep.
And I think I've noticed and just ended up embracing the fact that I do have influences. I have things that spark an idea or interest, but like a lot of times, like I'll listen to the audiobook, but maybe just the first couple chapters, and then I'm like, I'm with you, and then I'm already onto something else.
Yeah.
And so I just, you know, I don't know, like so I'm just not the type of person who's super receptive intellectually. Like,
I get you, yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm super receptive to people in other ways, emotionally. I mean, there's a lot of other ways, but that I take in information, but like, I just have my fixed way of thinking about things, and so things will spark something, and then I'll be like, I'm in my headspace here, but like, Ethan Hawke is someone I see this way, and who has ventured into filmmaking. And when I hear him talk, I'm like, oh man, that's the way my brain works, and I can follow. And you get this, and you see this the same way that I do. So I can listen to him speak, and I can look at his work, and I can really take it in.
Yeah, I get you.
But a lot of times, when I say influence, like I'm really like, it's like a spark, and then I'm off on my own track.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And then sometimes I'm just kind of contrarian. And so it's like, cool, it's an influence, but it's because that reminded me of how much I disagree with you. And I'm like, oh, here. So I don't know. And then I think I haven't realized until later in my life how much film and stories have affected me. Like, I just didn't notice. I mean, like, you guys saw the show. I grew up, with a very narrow exposure to music, to movies. I mean, I probably watched Sound of Music like 40 times every year, like, and things like that, like over and over and over. And there are just certain little movies that like really stay with me. And then I don't consume a lot of movies and things that I know will just stay with me and hang on me and pull me in different directions. I really am kind of
Quality
closed
over
off.
quantity.
Maybe so. But there are like some movies that like I just were so impactful and so
They're grilling me. They're grilling me.
We're laughing at him.
Okay,
It was a conversation before.
I haven't seen Sound of Music, the movie, all the way through.
Yes, okay.
So, like, I knew they were going to grill me about it because they were like, you haven't seen anything. How are you being an actor? So, like,
I
I
get
feel
this
you.
all the time.
I get you.
I get this all the time. Like every time it comes up, I
Yeah.
have my best friend in Fort Worth is such a movie fanatic, and she's so nerdy, and I love her to death. And she just consumes all this stuff, and it's beautiful. And she'll say, okay, it's like in that movie, this, and The Shining, this, and then I'm like, I
Yeah, that's exactly what
nothing.
happened.
Tell me about it. Tell me about it.
But
I
see,
just-
that's where
Yep.
this is great right
Yep.
here, because obviously we're bringing two people that have the same kind of commonality, right?
Yeah,
away.
okay.
It's crazy.
I
But
told you, you're in good company.
Yes,
I think the influences for me are not as much from artists, but from real life, from real people and conversations and the ideas that interactions spark with me, and a lot of different influences, but maybe not so much studying a playwright or studying. I don't know if I would have the patience even.
So less pop
do
culture
that.
inspired, more instigated by.
Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, straight up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, there we go.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
In today's time, it feels so original. Like it just feels
Yes.
so original when we're following data trends and trying to keep up with sequels and remake culture, and to see a body
So
of work
much,
that was coming from somebody internally,
Right.
with obviously minimal influence coming from you personally, is
Well, and to top that, to add on to that, it's a story about telling a story differently than it's been told.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like,
Who's
nailed
doing
it.
that? It's
Nailed
genius.
it. Nailed it.
Aw.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
That
That's
took
very
it took
cool.
it to a different level than what I think what everybody's trying to do. And I think it takes it, and like I think the biggest thing that you were talking about that you have a lot of education in is communication.
Yeah.
And I think in
That
a lot
showed
of stuff that we
thanks.
worked on, and everybody, like you said, everybody has these ideas, but then the communication just isn't there.
Yeah.
So then you just watch something and you're like,
because how many adults do you know
Alright.
that don't communicate well?
Well,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
that brings me to something I've thought about a lot, is that I don't feel like people sit with themselves enough and ask them questions.
Yeah.
And I don't want to give too much away, so if we got to cut this out, cut it out. But
That's okay. No.
one of my favorite points was that the role reversal, even in and of yourself, Jenny's character, of going in with questions for someone
Yes.
Hey,
and
you
leaving
have
with
that,
questions
yes.
for herself.
Yeah.
Sit with yourself and ask these questions. Like, I loved that. That
Yeah.
was amazing. And I
We-
don't think enough people do that. Not in a
Correct.
critique way, but just it's hard to sit with yourself and sift through all of the things that
Yeah.
are bothering you, the movies that you saw growing up, how they influenced you, and like, you know, whatever your faith is, how that influenced you. Like,
Or-
that was huge.
Even the
And I
music that you were
enjoyed
talking
that.
about too.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Even the music that you were talking
Yeah.
about in the story, like just
Yeah.
something like that, how two differences between the punk music that he was playing from the Dead Kennedys opposed to what was the song again? The
Oh, Amy Grant.
there we go.
Yeah.
Amy Grant. My wife nudged me. I was like, "Oh yeah, no, I know exactly what she's
I
talking
love
about."
those songs. During that part, I'm like, yes.
And obviously the music was important because of the subject
Yes.
matter, but music has always been a way to bridge a gap
Yeah.
through language barriers or anything. It's
Society.
It's
Yeah.
literally a vibe, right? Your frequency,
Yeah.
and you can communicate through that. So I thought that was wonderful. We're
Breathtaking.
gushing over
Yeah,
here.
right.
That's cool. Y'all
But-
feel free to go off script
Yeah.
and like just talk about what you thought here and there. But I love
Yeah.
that, and I love that you caught that about questions. That was something I enjoyed throughout. Is that they keep returning to these. She never gets to ask any of her questions.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And then I'm not going to give away the end, but you know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it's great.
There's a twist, you know, that happens, and yeah, it's set up nicely, I think, for that. So.
I have a question. So as a creator, and you said you had 5 kids.
Yes.
I have 1. So creation, and I'm exhausted. But I love you. I'm sorry. But
It gets better.
it gets easier. All
It
right.
gets better.
I try to keep them at the studio here and there, pulling chords and doing all types of stuff. But like, you have so much love to give. You know what I'm saying? You have to pour into your product, with your creation for yourself, and then you have to pour that same love and energy into your children as well. How do you balance that? You know what I'm saying? Because you
this is a great
you
question.
have will, like for me, I'm a writer and I'm a voice actor, but
Yeah.
I have to allocate my time to my work, and then I have to allocate my time to my son and my family. And I'm like, you only have so much to give throughout the day, and if you had one and you're passionate about the other, you know what I'm saying? How you? I have 1. You said you have 5, so I'm curious how you're able to even push out a beautiful body of work like that with a full family.
Well, the timing really worked out for me with
Yeah.
this because last May, my 3rd daughter graduated high school. So, like, literally, I suddenly, for the first time in, I can't even count, I had fewer kids at home than I even had, you know, outside of the home. Like, all of a sudden, that balance shift of, like, only have 2 at home, like, that, and, you know, this year, they're both going to be in high school. That's a whole different, you know, capacity scenario, you know, than I had ever been in the 24 years prior, you know, of being a parent. So that was very fortunate because there was enough of that shift there. I think, though, like, you know, like, I've never had the luxury of being able to do things, you know, full-time or even part-time that are creative. and devote any, like these are the devoted hours of my day to this. So probably on a very extreme level, so maybe this is helpful, because on a very extreme level, I've had to trust that, like, the interactions I'm having with my kids, the things I'm experiencing in my life, this is all art. This is all meaning, which is at the heart of art, artistic expression. And that this is building something. These are, and I've had to tell myself that a lot, in my life. This meaning and these things I'm holding on to, and, so I don't know if it's balanced so much as trusting that, like, even in all the mundane aspects of the work you got to do and the things you have to, your obligations, that there's so much wealth of what's coming out of that. I mean, my oldest daughter just graduated from drama school in the UK, in London. She is what's
That's cool.
it is very cool. Y'all. She
That's
always
awesome,
wanted to study acting in the UK. It's a very different approach to the craft. I shouldn't say very different, but it's a very distinct approach to the craft of acting. It's very highly regarded there. She always, was drawn to that. But, when she held out for drama school. She first auditioned one year, got very far to some finals with the school she ended up at. And then didn't audition the next year. The next year was COVID. It's been 3 years after high school that she finally got a full audition round with a lot of experience under her belt and got in. And it's rare to get in, but that's a huge honor to get into these, elite drama schools there. But they don't typically take kids right out of high school. Like, it's very much understood that you probably don't have the life experience yet to begin to study this storytelling work the way, and it be in any way meaningful.
Yeah.
And that's because they understand that, like, the art, what you have to bring to that, to a story, to your writing, to your expression, the stuff of it, like, it's the building blocks of that is your real life and your real struggles and heartache and everything else. So I don't know if that helps at all.
It definitely does.
Yeah, no, that was a good answer. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. It's like your naivete has a place, but it won't substitute real vulnerability. And acting is kind of rooted in being able to be yourself, and then so you can play all these different characters.
Yeah. Well, so is storytelling. So is writing.
Yeah.
It's you have to be able to find truth, and it's hard. Real life makes you, take a really good look at what is really true, what is really meaningful, and doesn't let you gloss over that or stay in denial about it. And that crosses over into everything you do as a creative.
Yeah.
So. I don't know, I think just trusting that it doesn't take necessarily, we think in such materialistic terms of, like, blocks of time and, and money, but it doesn't necessarily, I wrote this in 3 days, the first draft of it, and that was just because of the logistics of how things played out last summer, because it was building in my heart, well, I drew on my whole life, but it was building this take on it was building from the time I watched the movie in 2018 probably, and throughout the summer as I was thinking toward this, and, like, I just knew that this is what I wanted to write. It didn't take, like, this huge labor, and I know people's processes are different, but I don't have that luxury. I didn't for sure in this process. And so, I just have to trust that a lot of what I wanted to put into this show, and I said this the other day, there's so much of my life that it's like, oh, I know what to say here. I know, like, because I'm drawing on so many things that have nothing to do with how much time I actually had to spend on it, And then you're just in experimentation. You're just like, well, this probably sucks, but let's put it up and let's see what it looks like. And then let's tweak it and go from there and learn.
Fingers crossed, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to quantify when it's been based on so many things from the past.
Yeah, sure. For sure.
So I guess I can kind of lean into this question because this is one I really want to kind of jump into. What kind of emotional or community response have you received so far from the people who have either read or heard about the play or got to watch it?
Wait, from the people who have either...
Got to...
We're familiar with it.
With it or got to, see it, experience it.
I mean, it's pretty much just people who've gotten to see it. There are very few people who've reached out to me and said, I really want to read it and I can't see it and please let me... So, like, there are a few people that I've let just read it. And I did try to, put in enough stage directions mirroring what we actually did with it so they kind of get a feel of what that experience is. But that's the thing. With this show, what we've really found, and this weekend really underscored that, people don't get it until they see it. Like, it's hard to get unless you experience it. And I like it that way. But the response, so I'm answering just for the people who've seen it. But the responses have been great. It's been really, really validating. You guys just have already said this about it, being for everyone, and I'm so thankful. It really is the type of thing that if you identify more with someone who grew up in punk culture, or identifies with that, if you are more of identify as a Christian, or if you are a teacher. I mean, we had a lot of teachers at the first reading, and they really had like this one very clear experience with it. If you're a parent, if you are in the ministry, if you have been bullied or marginalized in any way, we've had people who are had a beautiful person who was at the show when we did it for like a semi-private event in Lubbock, who was like, I know this is not harkening back to like the 70s, but that's my culture, is like being a hippie in the 70s. And she's just, very emotional, talking about like, this is what I experienced, and I'm seeing this full circle here. So like there have been so many different people from different political backgrounds. That was very key for me, who have all had this emotional response, and that's what we want. Like that's where we understand now more and more that's where we make decisions, is in our emotions, is in those little subtle allegiances in our lives, those survival issues in our lives that we don't even talk about or much less examine. And so that's where we wanted the play to go, to bring people to that level of response. And that's definitely been happening.
It definitely succeeded, I would say that, for every one of us, I think.
There's one interesting response also, because I said this, you guys know, like but I'll tell your listeners, viewers / whoever. The key thing that we wanted to see happen was for people to have a productive, empathetic response, not just to stay in like this superficial empathy that's still distant from a story and looking at it from a distance saying that's so sad or that's so awful, but actually to go to a deeper level of, where am I in this story? Where's my personal responsibility? How does this change me? How does this need to change me in my life, instead of just the immediate pointing fingers that we do, And we just saw that with like even the floods, in the last couple weeks, like people in tragedy, especially, like people just default to who's to blame, who do we point fingers at, instead of, what is our responsibility? And it's a subtle difference, but it's a huge one, and we usually miss it by wide margins. And even in some of the responses from people who have identified with more as being punks, in their life, and as cathartic as it is to have some of the things happen in the show for them, I've also heard the feedback from people saying, this actually enabled me to have greater empathy too, because I'm looking at this other character and saying, oh, these people aren't just assholes. Can I say assholes?
Yeah.
These people are this. What she said. These people are not just assholes. You know, like there's even this little greater understanding for someone who has been marginalized to say, okay, some of what this aggression is that I've experienced also comes from, you know, fear and shame and, you know, people being locked into a certain way of thinking because that's the way they were raised and that's the way they were conditioned. And so that's been cool too, that's opened people up on all sides there.
I would say so.
Yeah.
So then, gonna dive a little deeper.
Yeah.
What was the most challenging part about writing this play, creatively or emotionally? Because you got an emotional response from everyone out there, whether it was, you know, happy, sad, mad, everything. I just kind of want to touch on that and see how it felt for you.
When I getting that response and seeing that in people, and I mean, it's wonderful. It feels like a miracle. It's really, I'm gonna get choked up.
It's okay. It's okay.
But what was your original question? Can you tell me again?
What was the most challenging part?
What was the most challenging part about writing the play?
Oh yeah.
Was it?
I'm related. I get out.
Yeah.
I do that all the time. I'm like, man,
It's okay.
I don't. It's not.
And you know me, you know me longer too, so you're probably like, let's help her out a little.
Yeah. But did it take a real creative toll on you, or was it a very emotional one?
You know, I don't. My personal life was very difficult during this time. So probably, if you ask me that, it's like realizing I'm doing something that's meaningful and important, while also trying to figure out my personal life. You know, it was actually a very, very challenging time. But I have to be a little contrarian in answering that question because, you know, to reiterate what I just said, it's felt like a miracle the whole time, and it's been really, but not in this weird performative way, just in a very easy, it's been very easy actually. Emotionally, I've been ahead of this play already. So like when I see emotional responses, I'm just, oh, this is so nice. Like I see people coming through down a pathway that I've been down myself personally, at an extreme level probably, because like, and you know, my background, I'm a cult and abuse survivor. Like I was antithetical to this kind of a story for many years of my life. And it was not what I believed, and it was not what I championed. And so all of those cognitive dissonance and, you know, trappings and all of this thing that I'm hoping to guide people through, I've already been through. So, like, that was the emotional part for me. What was really actually easy about this whole process was at every point being able to kind of put my belief out there ahead of this, put my trust out there toward Jason. When I contacted Jeni Deneke and asked for his
blessing.
I didn't use blessing.
Oh yeah,
that's
true.
The play, but it's I didn't say that word. I knew that much. I'd gone that far. I did not. Yeah, she's more representative of like the wider community and me at my worst, so that we can, you know, or in my past. But yeah, when I asked permission for him, like to basically give me the go-ahead to use his life and potentially his, you know, his pain and his tragedy that has been paraded, you know, throughout the world on a national, international stage, and to model to base a character after him and name him Jason and like all these things, like that's huge. But like everything that he did and everything everybody who supported me and helped and everything the actors did followed in that same path of just like that that knowing of like, and this is artistry. This is like, you know, the whole concept of like the sculptor that knows the shape that is beneath this massive blunt rock, you know, and just chisels away, right? But that's really what I got to see and experience happening with me having to just say, okay, this is my capacity. This is the time I have. These are the constraints. This is the way I'm going to do it, or we're going to shut it down. You know, these are the standards we want to, you know, hold ourselves to, and just to put really a lot of faith and belief and trust out there. Just, okay, let's keep going. Let's see what happens. I know that there's something here, so then let's do it, you know. And that's what he did in response. That's what Jason Crispin did at Amarillo Theater, the times that he supported us along the way. That's what my actors have done. There's just so many opportunities for people to, you know, to say, well, I don't know, let me read the script first or something. And there was no script, you know, like, but at every point, people responded that same way. And I feel like that opens so many doors at some level when people come in and see the show. You know, I just think that's still them putting a lot of faith ahead and just trusting. I'll say too, you know, like doing it here in Amarillo and knowing that there were so many people that have come this last weekend and even in February who were there with Brian, who knew who've known all of them, who've lived all of this, you know, and who have had that pain exploited, you know, and who have gone through, you know, so much of their own struggles and trauma. And I want to talk to some of them more. I haven't really pinpointed this, but we heard it again this weekend man, there were several times at the beginning of the play that I almost walked out. Like, it was really hard, you know, because I've sat behind a number of people who I'm watching from behind just wipe their eyes the whole show, you know. It's really hard to put that trust out there. And then they'll say, but I'm so glad it didn't leave. I'm so glad I stuck it through. I'm so glad I watched this whole thing. So I'm going back to your question now, finally. It hasn't been hard. It hasn't been hard because it hasn't been difficult. It's been very much like, let's see what happens. And every single time it's, you know.
I think it kind of just goes to show with just us watching the play and you getting all that feedback from everybody. It was, I mean, I think everybody had at least maybe something, every little thing that, you know, hey, about this or that, but everyone had great compliments about the play, and it touched everyone in one way or another, whether that be emotionally or spiritually or even just to be a better person.
Introspectively.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
I was telling my girl that you could have put anybody from any sub-niche category in any two of those places, and they would have related and they would have connected with the play. And they all feel it because it's a human experience and it's a human response that we all have and we all get.
Yeah.
And especially with like mass shootings today, we go straight to laws and politics and not being able to empathize with the people who just lost somebody or the violence that they're going through. And you were able to capture me, especially as a writer. I was in awe of how you were able to capture your feelings. You know what I'm saying? And literally walk us through your feelings.
Yes.
As your confusion is building and then understanding and then, wait, you know, like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Really brilliant. Because I struggle with that. I can write from an objective point of view, but then when I have to narrow in subjectively, I start having a hard time.
It's hard, because you want to tell people, you know, you want to go to the bottom line and instead of guide them, you know, and it's really hard.
That's really refreshing.
But that's putting trust out there
too. That is very
refreshing. But that's a huge point. I mean, that's where we put that trust out there for our audience too. We do that as actors, you know. A lot of overacting is not trusting your audience to just get it. And that's something we've done a lot in rehearsal with this show, because we didn't have much time with the show initially at all to get it like to the festival, to the Fort Worth Festival. So we just did it. We just got it on its feet. But then when we actually had time to rehearse, it was like, okay, now let's know exactly what's happening at all the moments with these characters. Let's know the truth that they're not saying, that this play never says, but let's
The
explore it
subtext,
now.
all that.
Yes, because I believe as an actor that I believe this about truth. I believe that truth is apparent. If it's true, it's apparent.
Yeah.
It's something you can find. It's something attainable. But we don't. We just have all these hang-ups. We have all these,
Preconceptions or
yes, fears and denial that keep us away from it. But if it really is true, it's there, and it's there for you, and it's there for that trust with, like, you are a human as well, and you can find this if you want it just as easily as I can. And so I don't have to push it on you. You know?
That's what I'm saying.
That's
It's refreshing about it, because we hear so many times of I ran into this problem, this obstacle, writer's block here, couldn't get this idea fleshed out. You know what I mean? Like, there's things they want to say. How do I say it? So it's refreshing to hear that this was such a smooth process, because it's something that clearly so many people needed to hear. So it was glad.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That it's there, that it exists.
The things that
and
need to
I
be
can
said
trust.
aren't so hard all the
They're
time.
not,
Like,
yeah.
that's really
You don't have
that's
to push
awesome.
them down someone's throat.
Right.
We can give people
Hang
the
back
tools
and
and the
trust it.
power to take down their own defenses,
That's
Yeah.
so
awesome.
that they can receive it for themselves if they want to.
Right,
It doesn't
right.
violate their own
It's not pushy.
agency.
It's
It's there,
I love
that, yeah.
And if we can trust, but that's what we do as actors.
Yeah.
We get out there and we have this awareness that we've worked to find, and if it's there and if it's true, then other people see it, and you don't have to indicate it. You don't have to
Right.
demonstrate it. You
less
just
is
have
more
to.
sometimes.
Yeah,
And if it's
you just have
there,
to put it out there, and then they're
man.
getting. And see, that's the cool thing about a writer, but also as a coach and as a parent.
yeah.
Like, there's so many times when I will think I've said something brilliant.
Yeah.
It's resonant, and it's just like, oh my God, I gotta write that down.
So awesome.
And then I will see that person years later, and they'll be like, man, you changed my life that time when we were at this place, and I was having this problem, and you said this. I'm like, I never said anything like that. I would never say that's not what I said. But it doesn't. It's because something about what they felt.
Some
in that
intention
moment.
was there that made it click.
Because language is so clunky, y'all.
It is.
Come
Yeah.
on,
It
language
is
is all
so-
we have.
Thank you. Words are important and they mean things.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes. We have agreement around, but our
Right.
agreements aren't perfect either.
No.
We're approximating this
Right,
kind of connection
exactly,
through language and
exactly.
things, and it's not going to be perfect, but there is truth there, and it is between
Mm-hmm.
us, and we have to trust that other people can grasp it as well.
Yeah.
The
young
way
kids are-
they want to, and to completely misquote you.
The young
That's
kids are
an
calling it
eventual,
aura. You got aura.
Yes, yeah.
You got a good aura. Yeah, you got a good aura.
Oh yeah, I'm not allowed to say that word. I'm cringe if I say.
Oh, you're cringe?
Like,
Yeah.
come on,
This is
no,
good
you don't
stuff.
get it.
We got a chalkboard written them all down.
Yeah.
So going into reaching a bigger audience, how did the opportunity for The Blind to be featured in London come about?
Well, it's it's a fringe opportunity. So the great thing
Okay.
is, it really is available to anyone who can work really hard to get
Hey,
there.
there you go.
But there are all sorts of different fringe criterias for different festivals. I don't know how this works as much in film, but for this festival, you really, if you have the ability to produce a show and you can convince a venue that's participating in the festival to host your show
Oh, okay.
and get a contract with them, then you are in the festival.
Wow.
It's
Sounds
very
a lot.
low
Yeah.
barrier in
All
terms
right.
of
yeah.
application fee,
Yeah.
and things like that. Now it's expensive for us to go there and
Yeah,
do
sure.
it, of course, being from so far away. There are lots of international acts that come to this festival, but you have to just, and y'all, that was hard. And that was where it is a very big honor, because there were thousands, apparently, of acts vying for these
Wow.
spots.
That's awesome.
With 30 to 40 fringe venues over the period of a whole month, So it did, I think, did I say this Sunday? It did feel like sorority rush week, which I've never experienced. I've just totally heard of, but like where you think you have an in with this theater, and like, but then like the dates are not going to work for you, or like there's 2 dates and they're spaced out between, like we can give you 2 dates on this day and then one more date at the end of the month. Is like, I can't pay for being there that long. This doesn't, or then you come back and okay, we'll finally take these 2 dates. Oh, we've already booked someone else. Like it was so tricky, and you can only apply for 4 venues at a time, or be in a conversation with. Oh wow! And then some of them never get back to you. Of course, it was like crazy. But we had thought about going to Edinburgh Fringe, which is like everybody knows Edinburgh Fringe. But looking into that's extremely expensive anymore. It sounded like something I feel like we would have felt lost in that huge of a festival. But this is a well-established one that was an offshoot of an Edinburgh Fringe and has been around many years, and is right there in London, which is a place that me and Heather are both very comfortable with being in London, getting around in London. It just felt a little bit more accessible for us. And then the fact that it's in Camden Town, because that's, one of the main birthplaces of punk music. So we thought, like, that just seems like it would be really suitable for the show. Yeah, and we'd have a lot of people attracted to the show because, and could tap into the punk community there. Yes. Even though we're all a lot older nowadays. And,
still going. It
never dies. Yes, punk's not dead. But, so yeah, we just had to go a few roundabout ways, but we finally got 2 venues. We're very fortunate. Wow. And 6 full, that's the maximum amount of performances that you can produce. Oh, wow. And so we're doing 6 in a row.
Crazy. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Between the 2 venues. So.
That's awesome.
Do they have any grants at Fringe that you can apply for, or is...
No.
You do it yourself?
There are, and some Fringe festivals do. There are some grants for acts from the UK. Okay. Not so much from other countries. So we just knew we were going to go in it and fundraise and make it happen. And it's happening.
It's happening.
A lot of trust put out there, but yeah, it's happening.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. Last question. I think we're getting into it. Is what advice would you give to any emerging playwriters, especially those coming from smaller communities like Amarillo, to get their stories out there into the world?
Wow, I have terrible advice.
Hey, it's usually how it goes. Yeah. Advice.
I don't know. I mean, guys, this is still like the first time that I've done this. I think I've already said a lot of things that are the things that guide me and that push that I try to remember for myself. I really do think I've come back to being very thankful for the opportunity that a Fringe Festival provides. And so I think that would be something that I would encourage people to do, is to figure out how to get it in the hands of some actors and get it revised and get it ready for a Fringe Festival, because it's so accessible. It's just... Yeah. It's really designed so that you're not having to take a ton of risk financially. You don't have to even be good. Like, you can, we literally, I said, okay, y'all, we're just going to call this our workshop process. We're going to workshop this at Fringe, and we're going to see what happens, and then we're going to be ready to tweak it and change from there. Which is something I do like doing, is like, hey, let's frame it differently so that we are comfortable with this process that we're in. So I guess I don't know what it's like to be a playwright yet,
Yeah,
so
no, you're fine.
I'm not sure how much great advice I have, beyond.
No, sometimes I think it just takes a leap of faith.
Like you're saying,
I think that's where all of us. I think we all sat there at one point and we're like, we're going to do this, and it just You just got to take that step.
Yeah,
I think,
try it.
Yeah, and see what happens. Like you said,
See
you're
what
just
happens.
you're just opening yourself up. And I think the biggest part, sorry for going back, was I think in the play, like you said at the beginning, that some people wanted to walk out. But I think it's, and I communication is huge with me. Is getting that to where it's an emotional response to, you know what, I need to finish this. And I think that's a huge thing with me, is the communication and that, and getting people to want to hear the message. And I think you hit that right on the top of the nail.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm hearing that follow your heart and be courageous, especially if you have a body of work that you believe in, that you pouring yourself into. Like that, you shouldn't have many answers, because you're not coming from a place of you're trying to sell it, but like that's not the main goal here. You have a piece, you're trying to tell a story that's important to a lot of people, and it should be heard by the world.
Yes.
So I think that's why you don't have as many answers, and I think that's the beautiful aspect of our art right there. That it should not have any bounds, and it should make people feel something, whether if it's good or bad.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Yeah. You got to stay and just. I'd like to sit here and feel what's going to happen. I think that's the whole thing, because I think it's just sitting there and like I'm gonna feel something, and I'm here for the ride. And I think that's where, like, whenever he was explaining to me yesterday, he was like, "Dude, that was like it was
That was the ride.
Yeah, that was the ride." And and so that kind of blew out the water for me of what's happening with you.
That's great. I love it. Yeah.
Well, everybody, that's our podcast today. Again, shout out to The Blind. It's actually going to be featured here in London pretty soon, so get ready to watch that out there. But again, shout out to that Gabe, who also did an amazing performance. We're looking to have him here on the next podcast here sometime soon. But other than that, this is Lone Star Slate signing out.